All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the April 28th, 2025 Stormwater Advisory Board meeting. I'm Brad Kloffenstein. I am board president. To my right, your left, we have Rob and Tracy, the other board members that are here. Before we get going, I would like to congratulate the Stormwater Board. We had 100% attendance at the State of the City meeting, or State of the City presentation last Wednesday. I doubt that any other board can claim that. So,
Bet you're right.
thank you for attending and being present.
Absolutely.
I would also like to ask the board, where instead of having citizens' comments at the end, I would like to have citizens' comments before we vote on each of the two new business items. Can we have consent for that?
Yes.
Consent, yes.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get rolling. First item of business, approval of special meeting minutes from October 10th, 2024. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion to approve. That was, Tracy and I were at that meeting. So motion to approve.
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
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 None opposed? We'll move on. Approval of special meeting minutes from January 27th, 2025. Have a motion and a second?
Have a correction to that.
Okay,
In the approval of minutes section, the second paragraph, it says minutes from the special meeting on October 30th. That should be December 30th. So with that adjustment, I have no other comments on those.
Can we go ahead and vote to change it,
Yes.
that it's approved with that change, so that we don't have to have it on an agenda
I
again?
motion that it can be, or was there a motion on the table yet?
not yet.
Okay, I'll motion that we approve it with that change.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None. Those are adopted. And then we did originally have on here approval of our meeting minutes from September 30th. We will approve those at our next meeting.
December 30th.
December 3rd.
Or December 30th, yeah.
Next meeting, right?
Yep. So yeah, there needs to be one change to that.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go. Next item of the business, comments from the administration. Chris, Jim, Amber, anyone? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Unfinished business, there is none. So then we'll move on to new business. Item number one, amendment to the project grant administration contract with Klein Peter Consulting Group LLC, an increase from $53,000 to $58,500. Mr. Wellborn?
Yes, good evening, everybody.
Good
How's
evening.
everyone doing? Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. The City of Lawrence entered into an agreement March 17, 2023, for Klein Peter Consulting, specifically to work on stormwater improvement projects and his consulting and expertise in that manner. As it relates to the amendment to increase from $53,000 to $58,000, the changes were made during the performance of the original contract, but there were delays. The delays and modifications occurred on 11/30/2024, January 31st, 2025, and then here again 4/30/2025. We need to submit another amendment, which we've submitted. April the 15th was that deadline, so we're waiting for notification whether or not that extension has been granted until August of 2025. The reason for the delay, and then I'll go back to the statement in terms of the scope of the amendment, was because of construction delays with a contractor. Brookside Park specifically is the location in question. And we did the work in conjunction with our utilities partners, and the construction contractor that we were using specifically were giving guidelines for milling and repair work, milling and filling, so to speak, but went over an exorbitant amount in tonnage. So I will finish here. Additional time requests is processing for all 4 of those amendments in preparing, for example, like city modification letters, Okra communications, and submitting those to the grants management system. We anticipate that there will be a net change of about $5,500 from the original $53,000 for a total of $58,500. So that is the scope of what the amendment contains, and I'll entertain any questions should you have them.
Can any of these changes be back charged to the contractors that created the delays?
No, these fees do not address that specifically. The city of Lawrence, in conjunction with the Department of Public Works, will go through a separate process in conjunction with our legal department to recoup any funds that may have been lost as it relates to expenditures within the context of the Stormwater Board.
Okay.
And I think that, I believe that that is it. Lastly, I'll say that Klein Peter has been very, very flexible and accommodating, and has the professional backing and expertise to be able to utilize him in the future as well. So it's something we foresee being a long-term agreement with the city of Lawrence.
All right. Any other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the board? Comments from the public? Seeing none, we can take a appropriate, sorry, searching for words.
Motion.
So, yeah, appropriate motion.
I would like to make a motion that we will accept the amended change to the, I think it's Keptner Consulting.
Peter.
What is it?
Klein Peter.
Klein Peter
Yes.
Consulting Group LLC.
And second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Second item of new business. Request to allow the use of funds allocated in salaries and wages to provide compensation to DPW employees whose responsibilities include working on the stormwater tasks.
Good evening again. I'm monopolizing the mic, it seems. The Controller's Office has instituted a more restrictive processes for, although the budget has, you've allocated monies, but the Controller's Office has asked that we present any other spendings to the board. So we're requesting authorization to utilize a portion of the funds currently allotted under the salaries and wages budget to provide hourly pay increases for Department of Public Works employees who are sole responsibility or additional responsibilities include stormwater-related tasks. Those employees play a critical role in managing and maintaining essential stormwater infrastructure, and the nature of this work often requires specialized skills or training, additionally added physical demands and responsiveness to urgent conditions. Providing a modest sort of hourly increase would serve both as a recognition of their contributions and means to support the work that they're doing and the morale, I would like to say, within the context of the team. The proposed adjustment will remain within the budget construct, and no additional funding is requested, only a reallocation within the existing salaries and wages category. I am prepared here to discuss those should you need them, specifically line items or account numbers should you need them. I think for the record, and I'm speaking on account number 411.001, which is allocated salaries and wages. There is $120,000 in that account, and we have several line items, and I will be, let me count them, 1, 2, 16 designated line items, ranging from employee benefits to employee wages, longevity, et cetera. We have a $5,000 budget for overtime, but we do not anticipate utilizing, that's a tongue twister, utilizing $5,000 in overtime, but we wanted to make you aware should that come up at a later date. But that's all I have, and at this point I would entertain questions, again, should you have them.
So of the $120,000 that's in 401-001, how much of that will be needed to accomplish these pay
These
increases?
increases, very good question. So we have not used any of the money so far to date, nor did we use any of the money at our last fiscal, the adopted budget for 2020-24. What we anticipate doing is doing a gradual, in consultation with, I call Ms. Renee, like deputy or right-hand person. But we've been kind of tasked with allocating a certain amount within the construct of the mayor's desire, but no more than $30,000 to $40,000 as it relates to small incremental increases initially. Should that increase to a point where it's more than half of what's already allocated, we'll be more than happy to come before the body and discuss that, or even in an executive session. But we believe that those incremental numbers are just kind of like best guess. But we aren't trying to increase anyone's specific salary in the thousands of $30,000 increases or things like that. But these are incremental things that we believe will help facilitate individuals remaining employed within the city of Lawrence and specifically working within the context of stormwater.
So what are the mechanics of doing this? So you have people that are in the city budget, if you will, and that will do work in stormwater.
Right.
Or have been doing work in stormwater.
Correct.
Okay. So how is that
Possible?
What are the mechanics of how that
Great,
happens?
very good question. I'll give you an illustration.
Okay.
We currently have an employee who is currently part-time now. With the tasks and responsibilities that have been added to our wheelhouse, that individual employee has a lot of skills and attributes that are very, very welcome within the context of DPW. We're willing, and this employee has agreed to move from a part-time status to a full-time status with a small incremental pay increase ranging from $1 to $2.50 or whatever that looks like. If that employee were to take benefits, benefits and the additional responsibilities with the pay, you're looking anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000 additionally. This employee in this illustration currently makes about $25,000 a year, and full-time status would then bring that individual up to about $50,000 or so. So, to your question, those small incremental fees, should an individual who is going full-time or additional responsibilities, those things are not mutually exclusive. In other words, it's set. One individual may experiencing just a small incremental pay increase who's already allocated as a full-time employee. Another individual in that illustration I gave you is part-time, but that will be toggling over to full-time, and then down the food chain.
But then if they turn in their 40 hours in a week, part of that 40 hours gets mapped to the city and part of that 40 hours gets mapped to stormwater.
That's correct. That's correct.
And do we have the mechanisms within our systems to track those hours and then allocate the fixed and
Appropriate
variable
money.
benefits
That's a very good question.
associated with that?
That's a very good question. We have a representative from the controller's office here, but historically, that is the case. There are percentages assigned that will go from one fund to the next. For example, if I were to be paid from a portion of utilities, then 20% of my salary will be pulled from utilities. 60% will be pulled from the general fund, and then maybe, my math here, 40% will be, another 20% or so will be pulled from another fund, and then that last remaining would be wherever those funds in order to get a whole individual salary. So, and that, to your point, yes, there is a mechanism to divide those things out, and we'll be more than happy to provide that for you should the board approve this particular amendment.
Yeah, I guess my bigger question on that is, recall last year, we had $800,000 worth of stormwater money sitting in the city's checking account versus the stormwater checking account, and we got that moved, and if it was an error or whatever, it still was a significant amount of money,
Yes.
okay? And we don't see financials for stormwater, so
Right.
I'd be willing to entertain approval of this with an amendment to the motion that says that, by, let's say, by May, that financial summaries for stormwater are posted online on a monthly basis going forward. By the end of Q2, they're updated retroactively to January 1, so we have a good picture of where our financials are, and that any stormwater bank accounts are reconciled on a monthly basis.
So
And I think that's at minimum to provide transparency, but also to ensure that the movement is occurring and can be traced.
very well. I made note of that. I don't have the unilateral ability to do that within the context of updating financials from the Controller's Office. To answer the first part of your question, as it relates to the monies transferred, we were on, meaning we, DPW asked clarifying questions as it relates to that too, and we were instructed to by our controller that the monies do roll over, i.e. restricted and rollover funds. So we do have funds available. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was somewhere in around the 2-something million, I could be off. But we do have access to those funds too, but they aren't showing up as it relates to the budget that you're probably seeing. So we'll make sure that we get that information to the
So
controller.
I don't understand what that.
Basically, let me clarify, the restricted funds, it's the restricted stormwater funds, then those funds automatically roll over to the next,
But they're not,
yeah,
they're
if
not
they're not used.
reflected in the current
Financials.
annual budget.
That's right.
So the way it was explained to us was, yes, it is a restricted, non-reverting fund, but what we see for the budget is just what's budgeted for this year. The money that was left over from previous years goes into a reserve fund, and we would have to come before the board
To
and
ask.
ask for allocation
Yes.
to use those reserved funds
Does that make sense?
that rolled
Yeah.
over in
Right,
previous years.
because it was expected to be about $2.5 million.
That's right. That's
Right.
correct.
Remaining.
That's correct.
Okay. all
Yes.
right.
And we've been assured by the controller that, yes, those funds are still there. They're
we have
in
to-
the reserve fund and not part of what is budgeted for 2025.
They're there and they're in the stormwater's bank account.
Coffers or bank account.
Right.
Correct.
And we got clarity, thank you, Renee. We got clarity from the controller in that regard, so that's, she is accurate in that assessment. We both were present during that meeting, so.
Yeah, so and that's important to watch that $2.5 million because something could occur that would cause us to want to dip into that. But in the monthly transactions of the business, we get no real visibility to what's occurring. And
We can bring that to you.
transactionally, I think we should see that, and even more importantly now that we're talking about how we're gonna allocate
Portions.
part of an individual's paycheck,
Correct.
salary, fixed, variable benefits, et cetera, so that it's a clean line.
Correct. I
To be
understand.
able to trace.
I understand, and we will make sure that we articulate those concerns. And I think you gave us a deadline of May, you said?
Yeah, I thought May, that
Okay.
way it gives you
That's like 3 days.
yeah. Well, end of May. I mean,
End of May.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
May
Yeah, yeah,
31st.
for
Thank
fiscal
you.
May.
End of
I was
month.
gonna
For
say, that's
fiscal
a
May,
lot
that
of
gives you
pressure for the
May
controller in
31st.
3 days.
And do it for fiscal May, and then by the end of Q1, have it retroactively, so we can then look at trends. And when it comes to budgeting next year, I don't think it'll be as an arduous a process, because we have an ability to track
Okay,
the spending,
okay,
all right?
all right, thank you.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Sort of in the vein, I believe you said that if a person is going from part-time to full-time, they may have an option for benefits?
Yes, they do not have, the city has an automatic process, human resources, that if you're a full-time employee, then they offer you benefits. You don't have to accept them. I
Sure.
don't accept the city's insurance benefits because I'm under my wife's insurance. I'm an example of how that works.
Okay.
But I still get a regular salary. I still have accidental
Death
workers'
and
comp,
age.
et cetera, but I don't take the city's benefits per se.
Sure.
So yes, ma'am.
So the second part of my question is, with this shared salary, if they say yes, that
Yes,
they
ma'am.
do want to accept the city's benefit, it will equally be split, the compensation package?
Yes, ma'am, that's a very good question.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And what will happen with us, what we would do is, within the context from our Human Resources Director, we will then assign percentages for what that work looks like. So 20% is administrative work on stormwater, and 5% is on site visits, and so on and so forth. So we'll designate that framework,
Okay,
and then make sure that you guys have a copy of that as well.
great. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. President, any questions, sir?
No, I do
Okay.
appreciate Rob's comments, and I agree. I think by the time we get to our next meeting, I would like to see where we are budget versus actual. July 28th is our next board meeting, so that should give us time to have the first half of the year.
Okay.
So I would like to see a budget versus actual, then just a financial statement on how much money do we have in our account.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think it's unreasonable
No.
to include in this that our stormwater bank accounts are reconciled on a monthly basis. Because if they're not reconciled, then the financial statements could not reflect properly.
Okay.
So,
And it provides transparency, but also I think it provides us to
Yes,
be
sir.
good stewards of our residents'
Completely understand.
stormwater fees.
so Mr. Wilborn, how
Thank
much exactly are you asking for today?
We're only asking for $30,000,
Okay,
so I think that would be a good start.
okay, very good.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you very much. Do we have comments from the public before we go to the motion portion of this? Seeing none,
Can we read the motion?
I think somebody needs to make the motion.
Okay. So make the motion to approve the requested funds to be allocated out of salaries and wages to DPW employees whose responsibilities include working on stormwater tasks. And by the end of May 2025, have our financials posted on the city's website. By the end of Q2 '25, have all of the prior months posted. And ensure that the stormwater bank accounts are reconciled on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And I think that allows us to take care of these people, at the same time make sure that we have our finger on the pulse of all the moving parts.
Could I ask you to put a specific amount in there that we're going to give to DPW?
$30,000 for now, Mr. Wilburn? Yeah, $30,000 for now. If they need to bring that up in the future, they can do so, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I second the motion.
very good. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, thank you very much. Any other citizens' comments? Seeing none, and there being no other items of business, we are adjourned.